I know, down 4%. I mean, we're off the lows of the day, but yeah, seeing some selling pressure here. I mean, we've talked about this before. Float is so low here, less than 5% of shares outstanding
But it's
available
still
to trade.
$75 billion of float.
It's a lot of float.
There's
That's
a lot of
true.
stock out there.
That's true.
That's the way I look at it.
Smaller floats can lead to sort of exaggerated moves in either direction. So that could be what we're seeing today. It's also, it gained 50% through yesterday's close. That's a really pretty solid rally in the first few days. So investors that I've spoken to so far aren't super concerned. It's hard to make any trend, calls after only 4 days of trading.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do we know about the various indexes and when this stock would be put into the indexes?
Yes. So coming up next week, it will be eligible for the NASDAQ 100. So they changed the rules, right, to have a sort of shorter period for these mega cap IPOs, SpaceX included, and other ones sort of coming down the pike, that they could be eligible after 15 days of trading. So that could add a lot of support to the stock as funds, have to buy in anything that tracks that index. The S&P 500 did not change its rules, so that will take a little bit longer, at least 12 months. But the potentially being added to the NASDAQ 100 would be a huge deal.
I just looked at EVT function for SpaceX just to see if they're going to be talking to anybody soon. And the only thing I see is scheduled earnings for August 17th. So that's probably the next time we will hear from the management team.
It is. And that will also be a really key date because it's when one of the first tranches of lockups expire. Excuse me.
Oh, that soon?
It is that soon. Yeah.
Wow.
So there are two groups of tied up stock that will become eligible to trade after the earnings. One, just after the earnings, and two, if the stock price is, I believe it's 30% above its IPO price at earnings. So that'll be a really key date for a lot of reasons.
And it's interesting. They just made this monster acquisition, $60 billion of this technology, like AI company here. We don't even, $60 billion M&A trade would be blockbuster in and of itself, but it's almost an afterthought for SpaceX.
I know, isn't that crazy to think about? Like the company is so huge, it's taking up so much time and attention, but it makes sense. Record IPO, huge company, hugely important space, and we're going to see more coming soon in the coming months. Before the end of the year, OpenAI, Anthropic, and yeah.
One of the things I want to try to get a handle on, if I'm an investor, is how is Elon Musk allocating his time amongst all his vast holdings? SpaceX now arguably is by far the biggest part of his net worth, which is now north of $1.2 trillion. Do we know anything about that? He wasn't really involved in the roadshow. It didn't seem that much. It was kind of delegated to the president of the company, the CFO of the company.
That's a great question, and I don't know if I have a super clear answer for you.
I don't think anybody does.
Yeah, it's interesting though, because it's definitely something investors have called out before, right? With Elon, just that is he able to allocate enough of his attention to his existing companies? I think it's come up with Tesla before, and he's definitely showed his dedication, right? We all know about him sleeping on the floor of the manufacturing facility and things like that. But it will be interesting to see how much his time is allocated to each company, and also just what he says about it on the call, which hopefully we'll hear from him when they report earnings.
And Tesla stock down 1% today. It's down 11% this year to date. Although if you look on a trailing 12 month basis, is up 27%. But still, a little bit of concern there amongst maybe Tesla investors there.
I think so. There was a good note out from Vanda Research, which tracks retail data, that they've seen net selling in Tesla over the last 3 days as there was record buying into SpaceX. So there could be a little bit of rotation there. But I think also worth pointing out, last I checked, every stock in the Mag 7 was down today.
Okay.
So we're seeing a little bit of pressure just on the tech side.
I guess now from a new issue perspective, the next thing the market's going to be focusing on is Anthropic and OpenAI. Now, both of those companies have filed confidentially for their IPOs, so that started the process. Is the expectation we'll get one or both of them maybe in the fall or something like that? What do we hear?
I think what I've heard is the end of the year.
Okay.
Both expected by the end of the year, but I will be really curious to see what happens. There's obviously, we've also had big equity offerings from other mega caps. There's just a lot coming into the market equity-wise. So I'd be curious to see when they come out, and I would guess they might actually want to come out sooner than later.